Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard. We are here for a book review. Let's talk about a book. Today we are going to talk about This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau, and this is from Dark Lit Press. Now, I know that Mrs. Marceau, has multiple books out. This is the first I've heard of her. This is the first I've read from her. She's got a book called Palimpsest. Palimpsest? I don't know. Anyway, I'll let you read it. Palimpsest? 23 McCormick Road, and she's got one called Magnum Opus. Very interested in putting my hands on those and reviewing them. I am a fan. This is a fabulous novella, and I'm going to give it 5 stars. I feel like I've been a bit of a 5-star factory here lately. I will say for this one, because I like to say these things when I have feelings, I will say that I thought about 4, but the only reason I thought about 4 was because it's an 83-page novella, so the story is small. But in looking back, I thought about how much punch this thing packs for 83 pages, and the fucking ending is exceptional. And I'm going to get into my other feelings about it here in a few minutes, but I'm going to give this 5 stars. I absolutely loved this novella, and again, new to me author. I knew a bit about the premise. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. For me, it was Misery. But in 83 pages, Stephen King's Misery meets Chad Luskey's Stirring the Sheets, which was another 5-star novella for me. I know that it's in my top 5 novellas that I've read in the last 5 years. So it had some Stirring the Sheets magic. It had Misery, Stephen King's Misery. So one thing, Ali Say, who I'm also familiar with, I've read her book Go Down Hard. She says it's emotionally claustrophobic and unnerving, takes dysfunctional family to a whole new level. I like that. I like emotionally claustrophobic. I'm going to read you the synopsis. Miller and her estranged mother, Sylvie, have always had a tense relationship, but after Miller's father dies, she agrees to a girl's vacation away from the city to reconnect with the only family she has left. Unfortunately, Sylvie's trapped in the past. She's recreated Miller's childhood home down to the smallest details. She's even found adult versions of Miller's childhood outfits and is desperate to revive the happy family they once had at any cost. Okay, it says right here, I didn't read this, but it's a cross between, damn it, I kicked the table. A cross between Stephen King's Misery and Stephanie Robles' Darling Rose Gold. This is where we talk things out, explores familial trauma, mother-daughter relationships, and what happens when we don't or can't let go. I didn't. I mean, I guess I probably should assume that someone else made the connection to Misery, but definitely that. Miller is getting ready to get married to her future wife, and again, she's had a shitty relationship with her mother, but we don't know a ton about that. We don't know if she was just overbearing, opinionated. Maybe she wasn't very supportive of the lesbian relationship. We don't really know that stuff. We know that she has nobody. We know that her fiance Florence has a big family. Friends coming to the wedding, but it's their friends. Miller has no one of her own. Her dad has died. Her dad's family's from overseas. She has no siblings. Her mother Sylvie was an only child. She has no one to come to her wedding. So if she can reestablish a connection with her mother before she ties the knot, she wants to do so. So she agrees to this trip. Now there's major red flags up front, which again, it's not a gripe with the book, but there's major red flags where they're in the car and Sylvie won't like tell her where they're going, or won't like show her where it is on a map so she can tell Florence where she's actually going to be. Um, Again, if this was a stranger, those red flags would probably shut the whole fucking thing down. But it's your mom. And yeah, you've had problems with your mom in the past, but it's your mom. No matter what, I mean, I can't say this, but, I would think that even in touchy situations, even in, uh, a questionable relationship, it's your mom. And unless they've just been absolutely horrible, then you would probably still have some level of trust there. So they go on this trip. It's in North Canada. It feels hours and hours away from where Miller lives, where Miller and Florence lives, because there's one point where they've been in the car for a while, and Sylvie mentions it's going to be much longer, and Miller falls asleep, and so on and so forth. So I don't really want to go too much into what happens. I mean, there's a lot. The minute she walks in the door, though, because the synopsis says it, I'll say it. She's recreated her childhood home in this cabin. I mean, down to the last detail. I mean, the linens, the all these things. And there's one point where Sylvie or Miller wakes up the next day. None of her clothes are in her bag. Her mom said, "Oh, I was washing them," and so she goes to the washer, and her clothes have all been ruined, ripped up, bleached, ruined, and she has to wear what's there for her, and it's like her. I've already said this in the synopsis, but it doesn't do it justice. This creep level factor of these little girl clothes, but made for an adult. These embroidered with flowers on them jeans, and the I mean, even like the the bright colorful young girls underwear, but in an adult size. There's just some next level creep to this shit. At some point, there is an injury. They go snowshoeing, and there's an injury, and that is where like the misery portion really kind of comes in, because Miller is quite hobbled with like a knee injury, and it's just. Again, there's a storm outside. It's snowing. The roads are heaped in drifts, and there's just this. And there's no phone service. There's just this real claustrophobic feeling. But then again, like Ali said, the emotional claustrophobia is next level. What I loved about this more than anything, though, was the ending. And I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I'm going to make one comment that I don't want. I'm going to make one comment that might be somewhat spoilerific. So if you want to go now, I do understand. But in this situation, I mean, you're in this house that is, your mother clearly cannot let go of the past. The father who you loved, who Miller loved, has passed away. This is your only family remaining, and just that the level that Sylvie, mom, can't let go is just it's overwhelming at times. Like honestly, as I was getting into this, I was like, well, I kind of have an idea but I didn't anticipate the levels, the levels of weird and creepy that you could come up with from a mother-daughter relationship, right? And that shit was cool. So back to the ending. Miller is hurt, and she's trying to get away, and something happens, and in that something, I mean, there's a final scene. There's use the word dragging. There's a scene of Miller being dragged from one place in the house to the next, and for me, just that final scene, that when you put me in a situation where I want to say that death would be better than this ending. For me, that is magic. That is, I mean, that's next level. Um, I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. It's 83 pages. It's a single sitting read. For me, I messed up. I was reading it late at night, and I only got through 70 pages, and had to get up the next morning and hit the ending. But it's crazy good. It really is. And I didn't mention this, but the conversation. I mean, we're in the car trip. The conversation, the back and forth between the mother and the daughter. The dialogue was awesome. It just felt super authentic. It's just really, really good, really, really good, really creepy, really, the isolation stuff, the dialogue is great, the back and forth. I just really, really enjoyed this novella, and again, it's a first time read for me. I've never read Marceau before, but I will be. I will be following along now. I need to see if I can get my hands on some of the back catalog. But this is where we talk things out. Caitlin Marceau. I loved it. It will be up for novella of the year. At the end of the year, I'll take my top novellas and break them down and kind of, probably pick a top five. So it will be up in conversations for that. Again, I until I came here, I was probably going to give this book 4 stars until I looked back and thought about it. But only because, I mean, it's small. Like, it's a small thing. I mean, all this escalation happens in a 2-day period. I mean, a Friday to a Sunday. All of this. I mean, the escalation of a overbearing mother to fucking absolute creep factor shit happens in a 2-day period, and it was a lot more special looking back at it than when I was actually reading it, in my opinion. So 5 stars. Caitlin Marceau, Darklit Press. Well Read Beard. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them. All of them. Read some independent small press horror. I'm telling you, it is full of magic. Uh, excuse me, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.